My name is Chloe Bennett, and I'm 32 years old. 3 days ago, my fiancé tried to put our engagement on pause so he could figure things out. What he didn't know was that by the time the words left his mouth, I'd already ended the relationship in my head that morning. If you'd asked me a year ago to describe my life, I would have said it was solid. Not glamorous, not tragic, just steady in a way I'd earned. One project, one late night, one careful decision at a time. I work as a digital strategist. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in the city, one room turned into a makeshift office filled with monitors and color-coded sticky notes. I pay my bills on time, know my credit score, and can tell you exactly what's in my savings without opening an app. I'm not the loudest person in any room, but people notice when I'm not there because I'm the one who remembers deadlines and backup plans. I like systems. I like knowing what's coming next. I like stability I can point to and say, I built that. For a long time, I thought my relationship was part of that structure. My fiancé, ex-fiancé now, I guess his name is Lucas Graham. We met 4 years ago at an industry conference. He works as a sales director. I was there to speak about data-driven marketing trends. He was there to network and charm people. He's very good at that. I remember the night clearly. I was standing near the back of the event space, nursing a lukewarm seltzer, mentally debating if I could sneak out without offending anyone. Lucas slid in next to me. Tie loose sleeves, rolled with a grin, like he already knew the punchline to a joke I hadn't heard yet. "You look like you're calculating the optimal escape route," he said. "I might be," I answered. He laughed, and it was easy between us, easier than I was used to. We talked about work, the absurdity of corporate buzzwords, our favorite takeout spots. He walked me to my car even though it was only half a block away. The next morning, I had an email from him. "Coffee sometime. I promise not to use the word synergy even once." A year later, we were living together. 3 years in, he proposed. On a small overlook outside the city, just the two of us and a ring that sparkled more than I thought I deserved. I cried. He said he'd never felt so sure about anything. We set a wedding date for next October. My Google Calendar became a patchwork of work deadlines and dress fittings, vendor calls, and client meetings. It wasn't magical exactly, but it felt real, solid, like something I could rely on. And then about 2 months ago, the ground under my feet started to shift. It didn't happen all at once. That's the tricky part. It was little things at first. Lucas started keeping his phone face down on the table. When it buzzed, he'd tilt it away from me to check it. I'd ask how his day went, and he'd say, "Busy," and change the subject. He started working late more, too. More client dinners, more networking events that somehow always ran until midnight. "Don't wait up," he'd text. "This client is important." He'd come home smelling like expensive perfume and restaurant air, kissing my forehead and collapsing on the couch with a guilty kind of exhaustion. "Everything okay?" I asked one night as he shrugged off his jacket. "Yeah, just slammed," he said, already scrolling through his phone. Screen turned slightly away. I'm not stupid, but I am slow to accuse. I don't like drama. I like proof, evidence, something I can hold in my hand and say, this is what happened. And I'm not crazy. So I did what I always do when something feels off. I watched. I counted the nights. I stored the inconsistencies like files in a mental folder. He said he was out with his friend Emily last Wednesday, but Emily had posted an Instagram story from a completely different restaurant. He mentioned a conference that didn't show up on his company's public calendar. I told myself it could all be explained, that I was overthinking, that people are allowed to have private conversations that have nothing to do with betrayal. I gaslit myself because the alternative was worse. Last Tuesday morning, Lucas left for work before me. He was rushing half-dressed toast still in his mouth when he grabbed his gym bag. "I'm going to miss the train," he mumbled, kissing my cheek. "Love you. I'll text you later." "Love you," I said out of habit more than anything. The apartment door slammed. The silence that followed felt heavier than usual. I rinsed my coffee mug, wiped the counter, and that's when I saw it. His laptop, sitting open on the desk in the corner. Lucas took that thing everywhere. He lived on it. Seeing it abandoned screen glowing faintly felt wrong. I walked over intending to put it to sleep so the battery wouldn't drain. The screen brightened as I touched the trackpad. No password. Just a messaging app open on the desktop. Sarah J. Last night was exactly what I needed. Thank you for understanding me in ways she never could. My hand went cold. The edges of the screen blurred for a few seconds. All I heard was my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I could have closed the lid. I could have told myself it was a misunderstanding, a coworker who was oversharing, some weird, out-of-context comment. Instead, I scrolled up. The thread had clearly been going on for a while. At the top, Sarah J., a contact photo of a woman in her early 30s, smiling at the camera like she'd never had to doubt herself. I scrolled up. 3 months of messages. 3 months of, "Hey, you made it home, okay?" and thinking about you, and you deserve to feel seen. 3 months of emotional confiding crossing a line I recognized instantly. Then it got worse. I think I'm falling for you. When I'm with you, I feel alive in a way I haven't in years. You make me question everything about my relationship. I don't know how long I can keep pretending everything is fine with Chloe." He used my name casually, like I was a problem to be solved, an obstacle between him and his revived sense of self. My stomach lurched. I kept scrolling, past coffee dates and late-night drinks, past references to that hotel bar and the Uber back to your place. Past nights he'd told me he was at networking events or hanging out with Emily. And then last night, "You looked so beautiful tonight. Last night was exactly what I needed. Thank you for understanding me in ways she never could. I need to figure out my situation. It's not fair to either of us like this." You know that feeling when your reality shatters, but everything around you stays perfectly still. The fridge hummed. A car door slammed outside. Somewhere a neighbor's baby cried. My life had just split into before and after, and the world didn't even flinch. I sat at the desk with his laptop and my cooling coffee for, 20 minutes, 30. Time got weird. Then the part of my brain that loves systems kicked back in. I grabbed my phone and started taking photos. Every message, every date, every line where he told her he felt alive, seen, understood. Every time he lied to me in the exact same window of time. Snap, scroll, snap, scroll. I didn't cry. Not then. I felt hollow, focused. Like I was on the edge of a cliff and the only way not to fall was to catalog every loose rock. I was still sitting there when the front door opened again. "Chloe," Lucas's voice. I left my presentation notes. Oh, there they are. I lowered the laptop lid, but not all the way. He walked into the living room, hair slightly mussed from the wind, smiling like the man I'd agreed to marry. "Hey," he said. "You okay? You look weird." "I'm fine," I said. My voice sounded flat even to me. "Just tired." He leaned over, kissed the top of my head. "Big day. Something like that," I murmured. He grabbed some papers from the counter, stuffed them into his bag, and was gone again. The door clicked shut. The silence returned. I opened the laptop again. By noon, I'd transferred every photo to a secure folder in my cloud storage. I created a spreadsheet because, of course, I did matching his supposed whereabouts to the messages I'd just seen. Every drinks with Emily that was actually dinner with Sarah. Every client event that lined up with flirty hotel bar photos she'd sent around 1 a.m. I called my older sister, Megan. "What's up?" she answered. "Don't you usually drown in meetings on Tuesdays?" "I found out Lucas has been cheating," I said. No preamble. I didn't trust myself to ease into it. She was silent for a beat. "Tell me everything." I did. The laptop, the messages, the timelines. I spoke in bullet points like I was presenting a grim slide deck. "Okay," she said when I finished. Her voice had that clipped, dangerous calm I'd only heard once before when someone rear-ended her car and tried to drive off. "You're not staying in this madhouse." "I know," I said, and I did. The decision sat in my chest like a solid stone. "Then end it today," she said, "before he gets a chance to spin this or put you on hold while he auditions her." "I'm going to end it," I said, "but not the way he expects." By 2, I'd called our wedding venue. The coordinator's voice softened when I asked about their cancellation policy. We were far enough out that they'd refund most of the deposit. The caterer was less generous but still workable. It hurt, but it was a clean hurt, a controllable one. By 3, I'd called my parents and asked if they could come by that evening. "Is everything okay?" my mom asked. "I just need to talk to you and Dad," I said, "and I need you to hear it from me directly. Can you come around 6:30? She hesitated. "We'll be there." I did the same with Lucas's parents. I didn't give details, just, "It's important, please." By 4 I'd packed a duffel with closed documents, my backup drive, and left it at Megan's place on my way back to the apartment. I logged into our shared streaming accounts and utilities, removing my name wherever I could. I updated passwords on anything that was mine alone. By the time the sun started slipping behind the neighboring buildings, my life was still technically intact from the outside. Ring on my finger, save the date postcards on the fridge. But inside, I'd already walked away. Lucas came home a little after 5:45. "Hey," he called, dropping his keys into the bowl by the door. His voice sounded strained. "Can we talk?" I was sitting on the couch, hands loosely folded in my lap. The laptop was closed on the desk. My phone with its folder of evidence sat screen down beside me. "Sure," I said. "What's up?" He didn't sit next to me. He took the armchair opposite like we were in a therapist's office. His knee bounced. He forced it still. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he started. My stomach clenched. I'd heard that phrase before from people about to quit jobs, end leases, leave cities. "Okay," I said. "I love you, Chloe. You know that." He waited like he wanted me to nod. I didn't. But lately I've been feeling uncertain. Like maybe we rushed into the engagement. Like maybe I need to be sure you're really the right choice before we go through with the wedding. There it was, the speech he'd probably practiced on the train. What are you saying? I asked. My voice was calm. It surprised even me. I want to pause the engagement, he said. Not break up. Just take a step back. Give me some time to think clearly without the pressure of wedding planning. A few weeks, maybe a month. I just need space to figure out what I really want. I watched him carefully. He looked nervous, yes, but there was relief there too. Like he'd finally set down something heavy. Space to figure out what you want, I repeated slowly. Exactly. He smiled a little hopeful. I knew you'd understand. I let the silence stretch just long enough for him to relax a fraction. Lucas, I said softly, do you need space to figure out what you want, or space to figure out if you want to be with Sarah? His face went completely white. His mouth opened and closed twice before sound came out. What? What? He stammered. Who? I tilted my head. Sarah. Sarah J. The woman you've been texting for 3 months. The one you met at that conference. The one who told you last night that you understand her in ways I never could. Ring a bell. His eyes darted to the coffee table, to my phone, to the kitchen, like maybe there was a script lying around he could follow. I watched the moment he realized he'd lost control of the timeline. He'd expected to lead this conversation. Instead, he was already behind. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. This is crazy, Chloe. Is it? I asked. Because Tuesday morning you left your laptop open on the desk. His whole body flinched at the word laptop. And when I touched it, I continued, there was a message from Sarah. I opened it. I read everything. 3 months worth. You went through my private messages, he snapped, latching onto the first branch he could find. His voice got louder, angrier, like volume could make him right. That's a massive violation of trust. I almost laughed. It came out as a breath instead. You left your laptop open, I said. The notification was just there. But sure, let's pretend this is about my ethics for a second, and not the fact that you've been sneaking around behind my back while we plan a wedding. He stood up, started pacing between the couch and the window, running a hand through his hair. You had no right. That was a private conversation. Private conversations don't usually include, I think I'm falling for you, and I feel alive when I'm with you, not her, I said quietly. He froze. The room went very still. I could smell his cologne, the faint scent of dinner. He'd probably eaten with her. Not alone, not stressed at his desk like he'd told me. It's not what you think, he said finally, turning back toward me. His voice had gone softer now, pleading. Sarah and I, we just connected. We talked. That's it. It wasn't an affair. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks a lot like an emotional affair at the very least. Coffee led to dinner. Dinner led to late-night drinks. You told her things you didn't tell me. You told her you were questioning what we have. You lied to me about where you were multiple times. What would you call that? He swallowed. I was confused. I've been under a lot of stress, and we've been so focused on the wedding, and you've been so busy with work. And then Sarah showed up, and she just listened. She understood. It felt good to have someone I could talk to without all this pressure. You were confused, I repeated. So confused that you could plan secret meetups, type out long messages about how you feel alive with her, and keep your phone angled away from me for months. That's not confusion, Lucas. That's a series of choices. He sat on the edge of the armchair, shoulders sagging. I didn't mean for it to go that far, but you let it, I said. He ran his hands over his face. Look, that's why I wanted to pause the engagement. I need to figure out how I really feel. I don't want to hurt you. You already did, I said. And the pause isn't about protecting me. It's about keeping your options open while you try out your new toy without losing the safety net of our engagement. That's not fair, he said, voice tight. You're twisting this. I felt something in me click into place. Cold, steady, heavier than anger. What's not fair is you wearing my ring while telling another woman you're falling for her. What's not fair is you planning a wedding while leading a double life. What's not fair is you deciding unilaterally that I should sit patiently in the pause zone while you decide if I'm still a good investment. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the person in front of him. Maybe he'd never really looked. What are you saying? He asked hoarsely. I'm saying there is no pause, I replied. We're done. He blinked. Chloe, come on, don't do this. We can work through this. I've already called the venue and the caterer, I said. I called them this afternoon. We're within the cancellation window for most of it. We'll lose some money, but not as much as we would if we waited. He lurched to his feet. You what? I also called my parents and your parents, I added. They'll be here in about 10 minutes. The color drained from his face again, a different kind of white this time. You called my parents. Why would you do that? Because I'm not letting you control the story, I said. I'm not giving you a few weeks to test drive your affair and then tell everyone that we mutually decided to take a break or that we grew apart. I want everyone to hear what actually happened. Once, from me. He shook his head, almost laughing in disbelief. This is insane. We don't need to involve our families. This is between us. You involved them when you proposed to me in front of them, I said. When you talked about how excited you were for them to see us get married. They're part of this now. They deserve to know why their kids aren't getting married anymore. And I deserve not to be painted as the unreasonable fiancé who couldn't handle a little space. He took a step closer, hands out like he could physically push my words back into my mouth. Chloe, please, we can talk to them later. Let's just take some time. Cool off. Figure out what this is. You read those messages without context. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I cut in. You met someone at a conference. You liked how she made you feel. You kept feeding that connection instead of dealing with whatever was going on with us. You lied. That's the context. I'm not confused. His jaw clenched. We're supposed to be a team. We were supposed to be, I said. Teams don't hide third players on the bench. The doorbell rang. He flinched like someone had fired a gun. I'm begging you, he said in a harsh whisper. Don't do this. Don't drag everyone into our business. I stood up. My legs felt strangely steady. You dragged them in when you asked me to spend the rest of my life with you and then started auditioning understudies. He reached for my arm. I stepped back just out of reach. Don't, I said. He let his hand drop. I walked to the door and opened it. My parents stood there, coat still buttoned, worry already in my mother's eyes. Behind them were Lucas's parents, his mother clutching her purse strap, his father frowning slightly like he'd been pulled away from something important and wasn't sure why. Hey, my mom said. What's going on? You sounded serious. Come in, I said. My voice sounded calm, detached. Thanks for coming on such short notice. They filed into the living room, exchanging confused looks when they saw Lucas standing stiffly by the armchair, hands jammed into his pockets. Is everything okay? Lucas's mom asked. You two look like you've seen ghosts. Please sit down, I said. My dad sat on the edge of the love seat. My mom perched beside him, back straight. Lucas's parents took the couch. Lucas remained standing. I stayed by the doorway for a second, looking at all of them, then moved to the side of the room where I could see everyone's faces. Chloe, my father said carefully, you're scaring us. I'm sorry, I said. This isn't easy, but I didn't want anyone to hear a watered-down version of what's going on. Going on, Lucas's dad repeated. Is this about the wedding? In a way, I said. I took a breath, feeling my heart thud against my ribs. Lucas and I won't be getting married. Lucas's mom's hand flew to her mouth. My mother reached for my father's arm. What? My mom whispered. Why? I looked at Lucas. His eyes pleaded with me. Don't, please don't. He wanted another chance to spin. I pulled my phone from my pocket. Because Lucas has been having an affair for the past 3 months, I said, with a woman named Sarah. I found out yesterday. The word affair landed like a physical blow in the room. Lucas's mother shook her head slightly as if she could reject reality just by denying it. That's not... Lucas started. I opened my photo gallery, tapped the folder I'd created, and turned the screen toward my mom first. These are photos of their messages, I continued. Dates, times, everything. I took them from his laptop yesterday morning when he left it open. They've been meeting up while telling me he was at work events or with friends. He's told her he thinks he's falling for her, that he feels alive with her, that he isn't sure about our relationship anymore. My mom's eyes moved quickly over the screen, then widened, her lips pressed together, anger and heartbreak warring across her face. Oh, Chloe, she whispered. She passed the phone to Lucas's parents. His father took it, jaw-tightening as he scrolled. His mother leaned in, reading over his shoulder. I watched their expressions change, confusion giving way to disbelief, then horror. You told this woman you were falling for her, Lucas's mother said finally, voice thin. While you were engaged to Chloe. It's not like that, Lucas said, panic rising. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. I never meant to hurt anyone. You knew enough to lie, I said. You knew enough to plan secret meetings. You knew enough to hide your phone and twist your schedule around her. My father looked at me. What do you need from us? Just your support, I said. And I needed you to hear this from me, now, before anyone starts saying we mutually decided things or that I got cold feet. That's not what happened. I'm ending the engagement. I've already started canceling the wedding. Lucas's dad stood still, holding my phone, then set it carefully on the coffee table like it was something that might explode. He looked at his son. "Get your things," he said quietly. "You're staying with us tonight." "Dad, come on," Lucas protested, his voice cracking. "You're just going to take her side." "This isn't about sides," his father said, anger finally surfacing. "You made vows before you ever walked down an aisle. You broke them. Now you deal with the consequences." Lucas looked at me, then at our parents, then back at me. His eyes were red, too bright. "Chloe, please," he said. "We can work through this. We love each other. We can go to counseling. We can—" "You had 3 months to work through whatever this was before you crossed the line," I said. "You didn't. You chose secrecy. You chose her, over and over again. There's nothing left here for me to fix." My mother stood and came to my side, her hand resting lightly on my back. It felt like a small anchor. Lucas's mom wiped at her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said to me. "You didn't deserve this." I nodded, not trusting my voice. Lucas's father repeated more firmly, "Get your things." Lucas finally left the room, shoulders hunched, disappearing down the hallway toward our bedroom. The sound of drawers opening and closing echoed faintly. No one spoke. The clock in the kitchen ticked far too loudly. My phone, abandoned on the table, went dark again, the screenshots tucked away behind its black screen like it had all just been a bad dream I could wake up from. He came back 15 minutes later with a duffel bag. He wouldn't look at me. His parents moved toward the door. My father shook his hand, once distant. My mother hugged his mother, murmuring something I didn't catch. Lucas stopped in front of me, finally meeting my eyes. "I really do love you," he said, voice raw. "You know that, right?" "If that's what your love looks like," I said quietly, "I don't want it." Something in his face broke. He walked out without another word. The door closed behind them. The apartment felt cavernous and airless, full of ghosts. My parents stayed for a while. My mother made tea we didn't drink. My father asked practical questions about the lease and the vendors. I answered all of them. It was easier than talking about how I felt. When they finally left, promising to call in the morning, it was just me and the hum of the refrigerator again. I sat on the couch in the dark until my legs went numb. I thought about our first date, our first trip, the way he'd knelt on that overlook and asked me to marry him. I thought about Sarah's name lighting up his screen and the way his face had gone white when I said it out loud. Around 3:00 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Lucas, I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you. Please, can we talk tomorrow? I want to fix this. I love you. Please." I stared at the message until the words blurred. Then I locked my phone, set it face down on the coffee table, and didn't reply. The next few weeks were a blur of logistics and silence. The landlord let me out of the lease early with a penalty fee. I packed up the apartment, separating my life from his. I took $5,250 from our joint savings, exactly my half of the $250 from our joint savings, exactly my half of the my $250 from our joint savings, exactly my half of the $10,500 balance, and left the rest. 2 weeks after everything blew up, a stranger named Sarah J. found me on LinkedIn. I stared at the message for a full minute before opening it. "Hi, Chloe. I know this is probably unwelcome, but I wanted to apologize. Lucas told me he was single. I would never have pursued anything if I'd known. I'm truly sorry for my part in hurting you." I almost didn't reply. Almost. But something in me needed clarity. Not closure, just the final piece of truth cemented in place. So I wrote back, "Me, he told you he was single. You never noticed the engagement ring he wore every day. You never wondered why all your meetups were secret, or why he never took photos with you, or why he avoided public places. Did none of that seem strange?" Sarah didn't respond. She didn't have to. The silence was an answer. "It's been 6 months. I live in a new apartment now. Smaller, but brighter. I got a promotion at work. I started running again. And sometimes I run into Lucas's mom at the grocery store. We smile, say hello, and keep moving. It's polite. It's distant. It's over. We need to talk about the concept of the pause. In modern dating, it's become this acceptable gray area, a soft way to say, I want to see if the grass is greener without actually losing my spot on your lawn. Lucas wanted to pause our engagement, not because he was confused, but because he was strategic. He wanted a safety net while he auditioned Sarah for the role of his life partner. If I had agreed to that pause, if I hadn't looked at his laptop, I would have spent weeks in agony waiting for him to choose me while he was out living a fantasy with someone else. I would have handed him all the power. Evidence is not dramatic. Evidence is armor. People will call you crazy for checking, they will call you invasive for looking, but notice how they only care about privacy when the privacy is hiding a betrayal. Trust your gut. If the patterns change, if the phone flips over, if the late nights don't add up, you are not crazy. You are observant. And to anyone who has been asked to wait while their partner figures things out, don't. You are not a waiting room. You are not a backup plan. You are the destination. And if they can't see that without leaving you first, then lock the door behind them. Thank you for listening to Chloe Bennett's story. Until next time, trust the data points, not just the words.